Ethan Grant hunched over his chair, the cold blue light of the screen reflecting in his eyes. Spread out before him was a complex graph, every line and node representing a person's online life. The project, named Prism, was not just an algorithm, but a digital portrait of humanity. Ethan had poured his heart and soul into it for 2 years, and today he was running its very first test. Synapse, a tech company known for its groundbreaking innovation, had made Ethan the lead of this project. The goal of Prism was to analyze people's social media posts, searches, and even their online purchases to predict their future needs and preferences. Their CEO, Evelyn, had called it a tool for a better understanding of humanity. She had presented it as a way to create a more connected, efficient world, where every need was met before it was even articulated. Ethan, a brilliant yet naive data scientist, had bought into her vision completely. He saw himself as a pioneer, creating a system that would help people find what they truly needed, whether it was a new job, a travel destination, or a long-lost friend. But today, as Ethan ran the first test, a strange unease settled in his heart. A small red line, an unusual anomaly in his algorithm, caught his attention. He double-checked the data. It belonged to a user, the leader of a small protest group. The data had tags linked directly to her personal life and location. This was against Prism's core principles. He had designed the system with strict ethical guidelines, ensuring that individual privacy would always be protected. This data, however, revealed her daily routine, her meeting locations, and the personal contacts she spoke to most often. It was a digital map of her entire life. How is this possible? He asked himself, his fingers flying across the keyboard to trace the source of the anomaly. Prism was only supposed to analyze behavioral patterns, not expose personal details. Ethan decided to get to the bottom of this data leak, a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach. The user's name was Anya. The next morning, Ethan walked into Evelyn's pristine office. Evelyn, who had once been his trusted mentor, sat comfortably in her chair. Her face, as always, was calm and confident. A faint, almost imperceptible smirk played on her lips. "Good morning, Ethan," she said with a warm smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Looks like Prism is finally ready." "There's a small problem with Prism," Ethan said, his voice tight. He showed her the data anomaly on his tablet. "It's leaking a user's personal details. This shouldn't have happened." Evelyn's smile faltered slightly, replaced by a cold, calculating expression. "Oh, that? It's just a minor technical glitch. We'll handle it. You just focus on Prism's final launch." Ethan looked at Evelyn, his suspicion growing. "But this isn't just a glitch. It looks like it was done on purpose. The user's name is Anya. Evelyn cut Ethan off with a cold stare. "Ethan, I know she's your girlfriend, but you must keep personal and professional lives separate. What we're doing is for the whole world." Her voice now had a sharp edge. "This data is for security. We are tracking people who could pose a threat." Ethan's mind went blank. Anya was an activist who championed data privacy, and he had just found out that his own company, with his unwitting help, had stolen his girlfriend's data. His heart was torn in two. On one side was the technology he had built, and on the other was the person he loved most. The betrayal was a physical ache. He had devoted his life to Synapse, believing in its mission of connecting the world, only to discover that their true purpose was to control it. Rage built inside him. He stood up and walked toward the door. Evelyn called out, "Where are you?" "Going." "My work is done," Ethan replied, his voice a low growl. "I was building a tool, but you turned it into a weapon." He walked out, his mind a storm of questions and betrayal. He had no idea that his life was about to get even more complicated. The next day, he was fired from the company. The false accusations had tarnished his reputation, leaving him broken. A fire was lit in his heart. Now he would take his revenge, using the very system he had created. The fallout and the plan. Ethan returned to his small apartment, the city's neon lights blurring into streaks of color outside his window. His phone buzzed with notifications of his dismissal. Social media was already abuzz with rumors of his unethical conduct, and data theft. Evelyn, in a carefully crafted press release, had pinned the entire data leak on him, painting him as a rogue employee who had tried to steal company secrets. The trust he had built with his colleagues was shattered. Friends, fearing association with a disgraced ex-employee, stopped answering his calls. The world he knew had vanished overnight, replaced by a digital wasteland of lies and isolation. The final blow came when Anya called. Her voice, once so full of life and passion, was now cold and distant. She had seen the news, the carefully curated articles, and the damning press release. "How could you, Ethan? You worked for them, for the very people who do this, all this time you knew and you said nothing." Her words were like daggers. He tried to explain, to tell her the truth, but his words were lost in a storm of hurt and disappointment. The call ended, and with it, the last flicker of his old life. In the darkness of his apartment, the rage festered. It wasn't just about his reputation or his job anymore. It was about Anya, the woman he loved, whose trust had been shattered. It was about the innocent people whose data was being used as a weapon. Evelyn's betrayal was a personal affront, a brutal lesson in the true nature of power. The tool he had created to help humanity had become a tool to control it, and now he would turn that tool against its creators. Ethan knew he couldn't attack Synapse head-on. They were a titan, with unlimited resources and powerful connections. He had to be smarter, more precise. He needed help. He contacted his two closest friends, Amit and Neha, former colleagues who had left Synapse long before the Prism project. Amit was a security specialist, a master of network infiltration and cyber warfare. Neha was a brilliant data analyst, with an uncanny ability to find patterns where others saw only chaos. They met in a dimly lit coffee shop, away from prying eyes. "They destroyed my life, Amit, and they did it with the very algorithm I built," Ethan explained, his voice low and filled with a controlled fury. He laid out the entire story, from the moment he discovered the data anomaly to the press release that had ruined his reputation. Amit listened, his face grim. "Synapse has gone too far. This isn't just about a project anymore. This is about control. They're trying to turn the digital world into their personal kingdom." "So what's the plan?" Neha asked, her eyes fixed on Ethan. She saw not a broken man, but a person with a purpose, a fire that had been lit in his heart. Ethan unrolled a blueprint. On the table, not of a building, but of a digital fortress. "We won't attack their servers. That's what they'll expect. We'll use their own algorithms against them. We'll create digital ghosts, phantom profiles, that will infiltrate Prism. These profiles will generate random, nonsensical data that will flood the system, corrupting their predictions and creating a state of digital chaos, the digital ghost infiltration." Over the next few weeks, the three of them worked tirelessly from a secluded basement. The space, cluttered with servers and monitors, became their war room. Amit created a network of proxy servers to mask their digital footprints. Neha meticulously crafted the phantom profiles, giving each one a unique digital identity that was complex enough to fool Prism's tracking systems. Ethan wrote the core code, a virus that would make these profiles seem like real users, with real browsing histories, social media interactions, and purchase patterns. The first phase was a small-scale attack. They targeted a few low-level Synapse employees, people with no real power, just to test the waters. The results were immediate. An employee who loved coffee and classical music was suddenly inundated with ads for monster trucks and heavy metal concerts. Another, a meticulous planner, found his calendar filled with bizarre, undeletable events like go bird watching with a flamingo or attend a seminar on underwater basket weaving. The employees were confused, annoyed, and beginning to question the integrity of their own systems. The second phase targeted mid-level managers. They were people who had personally helped Evelyn frame Ethan. Now, their digital lives began to unravel. A marketing manager who had been working on a new campaign found her social media feeds filled with negative comments about her own campaign, comments that appeared to be from her own colleagues. She was accused of sabotaging her own work. A quiet software engineer, a known introvert, received hundreds of fake invitations to loud, raucous parties. His phone rang constantly with calls from unknown numbers, all of them pre-recorded with his own voice, whispering nonsensical phrases. The psychological warfare had begun. The tipping point. The chaos spread throughout Synapse. The algorithms, which were supposed to be their biggest asset, were now their biggest liability. Predictions were wildly inaccurate. Ad campaigns were failing, and user data was so corrupted that it was useless. Employees were paranoid, blaming each other for the strange occurrences. The trust and unity that had once defined Synapse were gone, replaced by suspicion and fear. Evelyn, seeing her empire crumble, grew desperate. She ordered a full-scale lockdown, isolating all internal systems and hiring the best security firms to find the source of the attack. But they couldn't find anything. The phantom profiles were too clever, too random. They were ghosts in the machine, and they were everywhere. Ethan, sitting in his war room, watched it all unfold on his screen. He felt a grim satisfaction. This wasn't just revenge. It was justice. He wasn't harming anyone physically. He was simply showing them the consequences of turning a tool for connection into a weapon for control. He was making them feel the very same helplessness and betrayal he had felt. The final phase was the most dangerous. Ethan was going after Evelyn herself. He had one last trick up his sleeve, a masterstroke that would expose Synapse for what it truly was. He knew that Evelyn's public persona was her biggest asset. He would use Prism's own algorithm to deconstruct that persona, piece by piece, and show the world the truth. He and Neha began to meticulously craft the final message. They used the corrupt data to create a public profile for Evelyn that was a digital reflection of her true, deceitful self. They fed the algorithm with subtle hints and hidden clues from her past actions, her conversations, and her private communications, all of which were stored on Synapse's servers. The final piece of the puzzle was Amit. He would create a digital broadcast, a live stream that would go out to every single person who had used a Synapse product. It would be a simple message, a single video file that would appear on their screens and then vanish, leaving no trace. The final blow and the new beginning on. The day of the final broadcast, the digital world held its breath. Evelyn, oblivious to what was about to happen, was in a live press conference trying to reassure investors that the glitches were temporary and under control. As she spoke, the video broadcast began to play on screens all over the world. It showed not a hacker's face but a simple animation of two hands building a tower of blocks, each block representing a person's data. As the tower grew, the hands began to manipulate the blocks, changing their colors and shapes, until the tower collapsed. A single line of text appeared on the screen. You built a weapon, and you will fall by it. The video then revealed a series of carefully edited clips and conversations, showing Evelyn's true intentions for Prism, her manipulation of data, and her cold-blooded betrayal of Ethan. The message was clear, direct, and devastating. The press conference erupted into chaos. Evelyn's carefully constructed image shattered. Synapse's stock plummeted, and a full-scale investigation was launched. The company's reign of digital control was over. Ethan, watching it all from his basement, felt a sense of peace he hadn't known for months. It was a victory, but it was bittersweet. He had his revenge, but it had come at a great personal cost. His old life was gone, but now he had a chance to build a new one. Anya, seeing the truth, reached out. It took time, but they began to rebuild, their relationship stronger than before. Together, with Amit and Neha, they started a new company. Its name was Sanctuary. Its mission was simple, to create technology that would protect people's privacy and ensure that no one ever had to suffer. The consequences of algorithms of deceit again. They had faced the darkness of the digital world and had emerged not as destroyers, but as guardians. The fire that had once fueled his revenge now burned as a beacon of hope for a more secure and ethical digital future.